Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ariana and I mentor first generation women on instilling a growth mindset and navigating academia during their PhD journey. Today we're going to be talking about how to deal with failure. And I think you deal with failure every day as a graduate student, especially if you're in STEM, you struggle in your classes, you struggle in lab, and you struggle with these formal exams that you're going to face a lot during grad school. And it can be really hard to deal with that since probably up to this point or until up to some point in your life, you were really used to excelling. You were really used to getting all the good grades, getting all the awards, and then you get to grad school or you get to a point where that formula that you learned in the classroom of just like memorizing things and getting things right on tests, it doesn't work, and it's not really applicable, especially if you're trying to get a PhD. And if you're not well equipped to deal with it, I think it can really lead to low self-esteem, low confidence, and ultimately that motivates you even less to finish your degree, and it can be really hard to deal with it. So this video will be covering some tips and tricks just from my experience on how to deal with failure during a PhD. Tip number one on how to deal with failure is work on having a growth mindset. And what I mean by that is look at every setback, every rejection, every failed experiment as a learning opportunity. When you're getting a PhD, you are trying to be a problem solver for some really, really big world questions that nobody has an answer to. And the thing that you need to remember, especially during this time, is failure is just feedback on what doesn't work. So take that feedback, learn from it, and try again, because that's ultimately what you're doing, especially in a STEM setting. You know, if you're in a laboratory setting, you're gonna face a lot of failed experiments. You're gonna struggle writing that code, and you're gonna have to learn how to do things that you've never done before. And when you're having these first time experiences, it's often the hardest thing you've ever experienced up until that point because you have no other experience to draw on. So remember, failure is just feedback that doesn't work, and it's your job. Actually, it's just an opportunity that you have to learn from that feedback and keep going. Tip number two on how to deal with failure is to not put so much weight into your titles of doctor, scientist, engineer. Yes, you should definitely be proud that you're pursuing a difficult field and contributing to many problems that affect a whole lot of people, but you shouldn't let those be the only defining titles in your life. And I think it's really easy to do that. Because they're prestigious titles. You know, not everybody can do that. Yes, but it becomes a problem when you think that's the only thing that defines your worth. And I think to get out of that and dealing with the failures you'll face is to find other things that bring you joy, help you build your confidence and your self-esteem, other things that you're good at outside of science, and it would really help you when you're facing a lot of failure during your PhD. I realized that I love doing it, and I'm not too bad at it, and I'm building my skill at it. I realized that I remembered actually that I love to read books, not only journals, and I'm soaking up all that information and learning. I'm learning all these different things basically that help me build my confidence outside of the lab and help me find out almost like who I am outside of my PhD, because for a long time I let that define me and define my worth, and when things weren't working out, I really thought that I was unworthy as a person. But if you learn this early, it will help you deal with the many failures you'll face during your PhD journey. Number three is to have some perspective and reframe your thoughts. So what I mean by that is that no one is perfect, and like I said before, previous video, getting a PhD is hard. No one's gonna sugarcoat that. And just remember that every expert that you look up to, even your advisor, has had to start somewhere and has faced a lot of failures to get to where they are. But you often don't see that. You only see people's accomplishments because that's what we post. That's what we put on our resume. That's what we put on our grant applications, fellowship applications. Everyone wants to know what you accomplished. Nobody ever asked people what they failed at. So something to do, I think, if you're really curious, is just Google like my failure resume, and I even have one on my Instagram page if you'd like to look. And just, some people have put together documents of all the things they've been rejected from, and it really puts into perspective that it happens to everybody. It's part of the journey. It's part of how you're going to be who you want to be in the future. And the second part of this tip is to learn how to reframe your thoughts. So like I said, really easy to go to the negative ends of the spectrum. Or the extreme ends of the spectrum, sorry. So it's really easy to be like, I failed this experiment in lab. It hasn't even been working for like 3 weeks. Like, what does that say about me as a scientist? I'm not a good enough scientist. I don't even have a paper published yet. Like it's really easy to go there. I go there more often than I like to admit. But I think about that thought, I am not a good enough scientist, and I write it down and I look at it and I ask myself, is this real? Like, is this real, or is this me going to the extreme ends of the spectrum again? Because I did get into graduate school. I did graduate with my college. Well, I did graduate with my college degree. That is a huge accomplishment. I did get into graduate school. Really difficult process that not many people get through. I did have fully funded fellowship from my first choice advisor based on 2-3 conversations. And this is not me bragging, but this is me showing myself that the phrase, I am not a good enough scientist, just doesn't really hold much truth in my reality. And I write those accomplishments down and I look at them and I think about that, and I take that thought from I'm not a good enough scientist to I'm talented, I'm accomplished. I have people who believe in me and believe in me for a reason, so I need to learn how to do that for myself. Please do not compare yourself to others. I mean, because when you're in graduate school, you're surrounded by almost like the best of the best, So, and it's very easy because if maybe you came from a job, maybe you came from undergrad. I came straight from undergrad, and for me, it was like, I just hit a whole other playing field. The bars of expectations just went up like a whole other level that I wasn't prepared for. And I was so insecure seeing everyone around me, and like this dramatization, of course, but I got so insecure hearing about other people's accomplishments because I was like, oh my God, they accomplished all these things. I will never be able to do that. But as soon as I stopped comparing myself to them and just knowing that I am on my own unique journey, unique timeline, and the things that I want and work for will come for me, and trusting in that thought really, really helped. really helped me lose that insecurity. And it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, it takes time, but I think you need to stop comparing yourself and stop thinking of things from a scarcity mindset. So stop thinking that just because they got that fellowship, they got that grant, they published that paper, that doesn't mean that that's not available for you. There are plenty of fellowships, plenty of grants, plenty of journals. Like, just because if you got rejected from one doesn't mean like every publication has a home. I saw someone tweet that and I was like, yes. So maybe you just haven't found a home for your paper yet, and it's coming. So I think just stop comparing yourself to everybody and just start seeing their accomplishments as a mirror for what's in store for you instead of something that you can't have. And that will really help put things into perspective and really just help you deal with the failures that you'll face during PhD. Overall, how to deal with failure is really just shifting your mindset, shifting your perspective to come from a place of love for yourself and patience for what you're going through, and you should be okay, because you'll be facing lots of failures in your PhD. I've done it. I've done it. I'm only in like year 2.5 at this point, and it's been a difficult journey. But I think hopefully this video will help you gain the perspective a lot faster than I did, and help you, especially early on in your PhD as you're transitioning to graduate school. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you like more content like this, I am on Instagram at @the_sassy scientist. I will put it somewhere around here. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are.